How you doing, Mr. DJ? Back, and let's go to my fantasy playlist of June the 4th, 1984. We're up to number 27, up one from 28. Boy, there's a lot of slow movers on this fantasy playlist. This is a very tight fantasy playlist indeed. June 4th, 1984, Prince, When Doves Cry. My goodness, and going to get off the path on this record maybe a couple of times. I found out some interesting things as I did a little research on this record. Well, first off, this was the last track written for the Purple Rain soundtrack, the Purple Rain album. The other tracks had already been completed by the time Prince started up on this record. When Doves Cry got that guitar growl that starts the record, and then here comes that drum. Fantastic drum. Prince used the legendary, the Lynn LM1 drum machine, and that was created back in 1980. One of those first drum machines that sampled drum sounds like acoustic drums used by Gary Newman, the Human League, and Prince used it on this record. And the Lynn LM1 drum machine was eventually succeeded by the Lynn drum machine in 1982. But that's the created those drums, those whacked out drums. Just heavily syncopated drums, man. It's a jam right there. Prince, he wrote this song. He played pretty much all the instruments. Now, there was a bass line. A lot of these 80s records had a bass line, particularly the dance records, but no bass line in this record. Prince did put a bass line in this record. But then he talked to a protege of his, one of his proteges, a backup singer. Got to talk about her in just a few minutes. Jill Jones. He talked to her about it and decided, well, if I include the bass line on this record, it'll sound too conventional, and I want it to sound really original, so he left out the bass. So there you have it. Now there's this orchestral part, and bear with me on this, because quite frankly, I don't know quite what I'm talking about, but I'm gonna do my best just the same. There's this synthesizer solo, that classical piece near the end of the record. Well, originally, Prince played that orchestral piece at half speed. And then he forged, I guess he forged another track played at half speed that was an octave lower. And then he sped it up. It's just that nice flourish, that classical piece right there. Jill Jones, my goodness. Jill Jones, when that name surfaced, I could not, let me put it to you like this. I remember the video that she did back in the spring of '87. Night Tracks. They put the hot rotation on this video, at least medium rotation. Video by Jill Jones. It was sort of I guess at the time maybe sort of a risque and a sexy video at the time, a sensual video by Jill Jones called Maya Buka. I didn't know it was, and Night Tracks was all over it. Spring of '87, and I didn't know she was working with Prince until years later. It was very much a Prince-like record. Jill Jones met Prince back in the early '80s. She was a backup singer for Prince, sang backup on some of his records for the 1999 album, appeared in a couple of his videos for 1999 and Little Red Corvette, and then she did this album that was released by Paisley Park in 1987, was not a commercial success. But it was the critics did like the album, and boy, it was a phenomenal record. I do remember getting into that record. It had that funky beat to it, that Prince signature sound. As a matter of fact, Prince wrote all the songs on that debut album of Jill Jones. Now, I found out, I'm not sure, I'm going to check on Spotify and see if at least Mia Buka is on Spotify. But it's my understanding the album has been out of print for years. I don't know if it's still in print. Her debut album, Jill Jones, one of Prince's backup singers. And speaking of another Prince act, Vanity, the song When Doves Cry is supposedly about Susan Moonsey of Vanity, another one of Prince's projects. And they had an on and off relationship for about 5 years. I need to read Prince's biography. I'm sure it'd be a good one, for sure. Well, anyway, here's the bottom line on this record. I don't even need to tell you the bottom line. Number one here in the States, well, I'm going to tell you anyway. Number one in the States, number one in Canada. Australia went to number four in the UK, top five in Belgium and the Netherlands. A little bit of international penetration. And it's going to go to number one on this fancy playlist. I'm pretty sure of it. But during the week of June 4th, 1984, it is up to number 27, Prince, When Doves Cry.